on. See the little goblin, see his little feet. See his little nosy wosy, isn't the goblin sweet?
Yes.
See his little nose.
Yeah, hello.
That was the most deadpan yes I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, that is like... I think Adam and I, and all of us are really kind of showing our age there, because there's not... I have an intimation that there's going to be actually people listening to the Fluffenhammer who don't know where that's from.
Yeah,
And that
quite
makes me
possibly.
feel old. That makes me feel old, you know? Yeah, one of the best episodes of Blackadder ever.
When did Blackadder come out? That was like, was it mid-80s or early
That
80s?
was season 2, so that would have been like mid-80s. It would have been 1984 or 5, that series. Blackadder the Second, that was the Elizabeth, the first one, which is
That's right.
probably the best series in the whole canon, you know? It's just...
Oh, it's a toss-up between that and the last one.
Oh,
though. That
Blackadder
was
goes
really
forth.
good.
Yeah, Blackadder Goes Forth is unbelievably good. It really is. But the writing in those seasons is so sharp. It's so sharp. It's all the comedy. It's a certain kind of comedy that's not as common now, which is it's all about language. It's about like the way language is deployed. If you watch season 2 in particular, a lot of it isn't like overtly funny. But it's the way the language is framed and deployed, and the way Rowan Atkinson and the other other members of the cast just intone. It's just beautiful.
I mean, it ranges from being very clever, dancing between the meanings of words and how words sound to the ear, to outright stupidity.
Yeah,
Like you've discovered purest green.
Oh, it's so bloody funny. I just every time.
Sausage? Sausage?
Damn your eyes!
The one that always gets me is the shouting, shouting, shouting. Ah!
No, it's brilliant. It's absolutely stunning. There
I have blown the waveform out with that one.
There's
Whoops.
there's been talk of like another season for years and years, and for my money, I don't really want one.
No, I mean they did Blackadder back and forth,
And you could
which
see that it wasn't quite as good, you know?
I think it had one good joke in it, which was the Romans. And it was the what, sir? What is that large orange hedge running towards us? Ah, that's the Scottish. Which that was a really good one, but the rest of them they didn't quite.
It just
Nothing landed.
No, it does. It's like a lot of the latter seasons of Red Dwarf, isn't it? You know, it's like
Yeah.
there comes a point when you really should just drop it, you know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this stuff is contextual as well. A lot of the reason these things succeed is because they land at the right time in the right culture. And when you try to sort of synthetically recreate that lightning in the bottle, it just doesn't work. The cultural resonance is gone. It's why a lot of remakes don't work, you know?
Absolutely. And has anyone actually experienced the Red Dwarf remake? The American one?
No.
Oh, I've heard about it.
The other American one?
No.
Did you know there was two?
No.
No.
There was.
No. I mean, I was thinking about that recently because I rewatched Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes recently.
Oh, yeah.
Stunning shows. I mean, some of the best stuff the BBC has ever put out. Really brave, really wonderfully deviant, brilliant shows. And there is an American remake of Life on Mars.
There is with Harvey Keitel, yeah.
And it's just like a lot of these shows that are translated, it loses so much. It loses so much cultural resonance. It just doesn't work, you know?
I can only imagine. I've never seen it.
It's not very good.
Tried.
It's just not. It doesn't have. There is something something fundamental and very difficult to define missing, you know?
Yeah. Is it just the element of the Britishness?
That's part of it, but there's also, like, you know how life on Mars has metaphysics? There's
Yeah.
like this really strange air about it where you don't know whether it's like metaphysical, whether it's like a psychoscape, a dreamscape, or what, until the end of Ashes to Ashes, where it kind of defines everything. That's kind of missing. It's there, but it's paid lip service to. It's like it's deployed, but they don't
Right.
understand how or why. In Life on Mars, when those moments occur, it's really effective because it just introduces this wonderful ambiguity to the world, you know, and a symbolism to it as well. You know, you're not sure what's literally happening and what isn't. And that's great. You don't really have that in the American one.
I'm assuming that they just kind of... Oh, it's weird because the Americans... We are so way off topic here. The Americans have a huge amount of 70s cop drama themselves that could have tied right into it and been something very different.
That's it. It could have, if they'd have reinvented it.
Yeah, it could have been
Sufficiently.
something very, very interesting.
Couldn't it though? Couldn't it though? I mean, it could have been, as you say, redolent of all of this American TV tradition. It could have been really interesting, but it's not. It's a bit flat. You know, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that wryness or that cleverness. And also the deviance. I mean, what I like about Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes is there is a certain deviance in both of them. And I don't mean the fact that, you know, the characters are non-politically correct or whatnot. That's not it at all. Because actually, when you get to the end of Ashes to Ashes, it actually turns on its audience. It's really clever.
Yeah,
and it
I
actually
remember.
says, like, actually, all this is bullshit.
Yeah.
All of this is like massive spoilers, by the way, guys. So if you don't want to know, turn off now or fast forward, you know. It basically tells you that this is all the fantasy of a young guy, you know. It's not real. There's even the line at the end of Ashes to Ashes, what, do you really think it used to be like this? This is a fantasy. It's not real. It's nonsense, you know? So it does that brilliant thing which media rarely does, where it turns on its audience and says, actually, a lot of the stuff that you're responding to, that we've set up for you to respond to, is kind of bullshit. And you need to question your own reaction to it. It's clever. It's brilliantly clever, and not much media does it. Not much media does it.
No, it's true. It is one of my favourite go-tos. I don't get back to it very often. By the way, I'm Adam. This is George.
Hi.
And there's Andy.
Hello.
Hello.
In before the 20-minute mark. You know that some podcasts are only 20 minutes long, and sometimes it takes us 20 minutes to get to hello.
Amateurs.
Yes, we probably are.
Yeah. That's exactly what I meant.
Oh dear. Anyway, as always, it's I'm Adam. With me is George, and
Yes.
we've got Andy here again. As always,
Hello again.
praise Millman.
Praise Millman.
No.
No. The first commandment of Millman is no.
The Church of Millman says no.
No.
Yeah. Brilliance.
Andy, have you ever thought about becoming a church? By which
Not recently.
I don't mean
Like
putting your name to
physically.
a church. I mean
Yeah,
physically
you mean
becoming
physically
a church.
becoming a church, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about having a congregation inside of me.
Yeah.
Well, you never know until you try.
Well, that's true.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. Well,
So,
you know, I mean, there are certain places in the Eye of Terror where that could be possible, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, well, anything's possible there, I
I
suppose.
suppose, you know, given the nature of the Eye of Terror, there are certainly places where that has happened, or is happening right now, you know?
I got asked a question the other day when me and Abby were listening to one of the Cypress Kane books.
Oh.
And she asked me the question, so Earth's called Terror? I'm like, yes. And there's the Eye of Terror?
Yes.
Yes. So why are they connected? And I've never realised before that the two of them sound similar.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm
Even though
sure...
it's the Eye of Terror and it's
Yeah.
the Throne of Terror.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, it's sparking in my brain that somewhere in the midst of the masses of Horus Heresy material, someone brings that up.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm fairly certain they do. I can't remember who it is. I can't remember what book it's in. All I remember is that I was really surprised by the guy who originally calls the Eye of Terror the Eye of Terror. It's Perturabo.
Is it?
Yep.
That's right, yeah.
It's Perturabo.
It's Angel Exterminatus.
That's right,
isn't it?
yeah. He looks up
Yeah.
at the... Because they're near it, aren't they? They actually go voyaging into it to find the Maiden World, or the Crone World, where Fulgrim has his ascension. And he looks up at it in the sky, and he has some sort of rumination where he thinks about it as a great eye of terror opening in the void. And that's where it comes from.
But it wasn't something he decided. If I remember, he said something like, that's just what it's called, and he knew it was called that, and it was always called that, even though that he'd never seen it before.
It's like an impression he gets, and he's like the first one who vocalizes it, who sort of makes it that. But he also, there's this weird sort of like, chaotic thing happening. There's a metaphysical thing happening, where he somehow instinctively knows that that's what it has always been, and what it will always be called.
Okay.
It's very strange and very cool.
Do you think that was a timeline thing where it was always going to happen, or do you think it was the warp itself feeding the impression of chaos onto them? Or
I think the answer is yes.
yeah, yeah, probably. Yeah,
Given the nature of the warp, I think the answer is yes.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
It's a great book, by the way, guys. Those of you who want to read after Fulgrim, want to read what's going on with the Emperor's children and all of that, it's a great book for that.
Now, I know I've gone through Angel Exterminatus. It's
very good.
Remember a lot of it.
It's basically, really, the whole thing is building towards one point, which is Fulgrim's efflorescence into demonic glory, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
There's a crone...
Perturabo's just irritation at everything Fulgrim does.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All I really remember is the Angel Exterminatus itself is a weapon.
It's supposed to be, but it's actually Fulgrim.
Yeah,
He is the Angel Exterminatus. And there's also an army of Ghost Eldari that rise up from the Crone world.
It's
quite fun, it's quite fun.
Yeah.
I always loved, though, how intimate the actual ascension of Fulgrim is, and how it goes like really deep for his perceptions of what's happening. The way his mind just opens up when he becomes a demon, when he becomes immortal, and he sees the universe as like this vast game board, and it's like, okay, so all of time and space is basically mine, and I can do what I like now. And from that point on, he just doesn't care at all about anything. The heresy, all of that nonsense. The only reason he gets involved is because it's fun. He's playing.
The only reason to get involved in anything, really, isn't
it? Right. I know you've also been reading Manflayer, Adam.
Oh, yes. I've finished Manflayer.
Yeah, I'm nearly finished. I've just got to a certain bit where there's a conversation between two icons of chaos, Fabius and Abaddon. Yep. It's great. It's absolutely brilliant. I love how ambiguous it is and how weirdly respectful it all is.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to get too much into Manflayer because I think that it would be a good idea for us to sit down, probably all three of us if we can manage it, to sit down and just do each book of the trilogy one by one.
I'm up for that because it's easily one of the best trilogies of books from the Black Library. It's easily one of the best.
So there's a sequence of events that takes place in Manflayer, which, once I realised what was happening, forced me to step right back and reconsider everything that had happened up until that point.
Okay, interesting.
Because where I thought the book was going, where I'd kind of cemented where the story was going, suddenly got flipped so far on its head that I had to reconsider a lot of the interplay that had been happening up until that point.
Right, even in like the previous books.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Manflayer is a really weird one because it's the A plot is it's next to nothing. It's it's your quintessential fare, but the interrelational politics that's taking place throughout it's incredible.
That's it, isn't it? That's where the book is made, isn't it? It's in the relationships between the characters.
Absolutely, it's ridiculous how good you see. You see the different facets of Bile.
Yep.
That he allows himself to present to everybody through the different conversations he has with the different people.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the names of the his
cohorts. Yeah.
But the way he deals with some of them, and I freaking love the fact that they keep calling him Old Monster.
Old Monster, Spider, yeah. A lot of them really don't like him. I mean, Sakara hates him.
Yeah.
Sakara absolutely bloody hates him. But what I like about it is Fabius is a really charming guy. Like, really charming. He's funny, he's wry, he's witty, and he's one of the only Space Marine characters who's got wit.
Yeah.
It's really dry wit, and he's very sardonic about everything.
What got me is just how much humanity he's got.
Yeah. That's something you find in the Chaos characters a lot, actually. A lot. More so than the Imperial ones. Because, of course, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Imperial ones have it indoctrinated out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's considered a source of weakness, isn't it? It's considered a source of deviance and heresy. So, like, your present-day Space Marines, which the Chaos Space Marines consider to be degenerate, are purely your Ubermensch killing machines.
Yeah, well, they will be my greatest weapons, and I will call them the Space Marines.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
That's the quote. Whilst over here in the Ayatura, you got Fabius Bile dancing around and being very, very human.
Yeah, very human indeed. And remembering so much about his own past as well, you know.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of stuff about where he comes from as a human being and who he was. I mean, you know he was born in what was Europe. You don't really know where. You know that he belonged to an aristocratic family.
He was born in Transylvania. I'm telling you now, he was born in Transylvania.
You know, it would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Or maybe, like, if they're going down the Frankenstein route, maybe he was born somewhere in Germany, you know?
Maybe.
It would make sense, you know? Given his eugenicist principles, that would make a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, actually.
But yeah, there's a lot of detail about the guy in this book, and it's fascinating. He's one of the best characters in 40k. He's one of the most detailed, and one that has the most psychological depth.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question then has to be, who bought a Fabius Bile yesterday?
I got one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Have you got him in hand, or is he in post?
No, he's here. I haven't sat down and put him together yet, but he's definitely here.
Okay.
Also got the lovely special edition of War of the Spider, which is also one of the best of the Phoenix Rising books. It really is, because Fabius plays everyone like a harp. Basically, all the different factions. He's just like, he so doesn't give a crap about anything. He's just like, I'm following my agenda. Everyone around me is an instrument or a tool, and I'm going to throw them at one another so they're distracted fighting one another while I'm busy over here. He's a lot of fun.
Could you give us a quick rundown of the plot and the story within War of the Spider?
So, in War of the Spider, basically, Fabius nicks. He's such an arrogant so-and-so. He steals a relic from the Death Guard, this sort of holy relic that was given to them by Nurgle himself. It's sort of like a casket that has this incredibly virulent disease in it, and Fabius wants it because he wants to do stuff with it, you know?
Yeah.
So he nicks it, and he's followed across the galaxy by Typhus and the First Company of the Death Guard, who are not terribly happy with him. Finds himself at Cadia, or rather the ruins of Cadia, where there are still like the lingering remnants of like the tatters of the Black Legion, you know, the ones who sort of hung around trying to carve out their own little empires in the aftermath of the destruction of Cadia. And he ends up finding... Can
I just ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Because I was always left with the idea that Cadia was basically turned to dust, turned to rubble.
No, it's not.
Cadia as a body, a celestial body still exists, just no life on it.
Sort of. It's like in bits. It's like in big chunks. It's floating in big chunks, and some of the chunks are big enough to still sustain something like life. If you're a space marine, you know, if you're insulated, if you're hardy, you can sort of survive there. And basically, Bile just takes command of this little ragtag band of Black Legionnaires, augments them massively, turns them into his mutant cohort, and throws them at the Death Guard while he's busy doing his experiments. That's basically it. At some point, the Adeptus Custodes get wind of what's going on, and they get involved as well. But again, all Fabius is really doing is throwing all these forces against one another, so he's got time. That's what it's about. And at the end, he gets away. He gets away, and he gets everything he wants. He's the only one who comes out of the situation fairly okay, you know? Typhus isn't happy at the end. Typhus is very narked at the end of this.
He's fairly knocked about most things in general.
It is
though,
Typhus,
to be fair.
yeah. He's not he's not your happy-go-lucky death guard. He's definitely not.
You kind of want to see him and what was the plague farmer from AOS called? Slimus.
Oh, Horticulus.
Horticulus, thank you.
Horticulus Slimex, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
would be
want
fun.
to kind of see those two just sitting there staring at each other, having a misery off.
A misery off, yeah. I mean, Typhus is weird because he represents like a slightly different version of Nurgle's faith. I mean, he's all about like the raging pandemic, isn't he? You know, he's kind of fundamentalist, so he's about spreading misery and death as far as possible. Whereas a lot of the other Death Guard aren't like that. A lot of the other Death Guard are sort of carnivalesque and happy, and they're sort of like, no, we're bountiful and we're giving the gifts of Nurgle to the universe. Typhus isn't like that. Not like that at all.
No.
I mean, it's fun. It's a good book. There's loads of stuff in it. I mean, like, not just the background, but the rules. There's so much stuff. You can actually create the cohorts of Bile. They're called the Creations of Bile, which is an entire... Basically, if you include Fabius in a Chaos Space Marine detachment, and he's your warlord, it changes the dynamic of the entire detachment. It's its own thing. It's not one of the legions. It's not one of the cults. It's its own thing that has all of these wonderful upgrades and addendums that you can apply to it. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. So is this basically as close as you're probably going to get to a Fabius Bile army codex?
That's essentially it, yeah. I think they're never going to do a whole codex, but it's like an appendix, basically. It's like one of the old little appendix army lists you used to get from days of yore that alters the dynamic of the core army list quite profoundly. Mm-hmm. It's cool. And the conversion potential is insane. It's absolutely insane.
So for making the Bile's monsters, what does it allow you to do?
Well, basically, you apply stratagems often before the battle. First of all, there's the whole... You know how there's the Legion traits and the Renegade Warband traits? Well, Bile's creations have their own, which means they're augmented already. They're already... Everything in the army, I think, bar Chaos Cultists, is augmented already. So they have +1 strength and +1 to movement, I think. But beyond that, you can also apply stratagems that augment them further. There's one that allows you to create, I think it's called something like the perfect creation, and you apply that at the beginning of the battle to a character, and it gives them loads of buffs. I mean, like really powerful buffs to their stats. There's ones that allow you to drive certain units into like overload, so you can apply lots of benefits with the threat of certain deficits as well.
Okay.
It's quite fun. There's nothing, unfortunately, there's nothing specifically to create like the new men.
No.
Which is a bit of a shame. That would have been great. That would have been really fun. But that's technically not in there. Although, I mean, what you can do, because Bile has upgraded rules as well, you know. He's a touch more interesting than he is in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. He's a bit tougher, a bit more survivable, and the limitations applying to his upgrades have been removed. So now you can upgrade a unit once per turn.
Oh wow!
Which is really good, and you can apply like different upgrades. So you may want to give a unit +1 toughness or +1 strength or whatever. It's very cool. It's very, very cool indeed.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm very tempted by it just for the conversion potential.
No, you can do all sorts with it.
Well, it is just if you can go nuts. You can go absolutely nuts. It is the Chaos Space Marine equivalent of an Homunculi Coven.
Which is surprisingly apt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, absolutely. By the way, just going back to Manflayer, Hexacharies, what a name. Hexacharies, it's a great name. I loved that. I absolutely loved that.
Great name and a wonderful character.
Yeah, he is actually. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. A bit more complex than you imagine.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
Not a scenery-chewing villain. He's more like a disappointed dad who, instead of giving you a spanking, is going to blow up your planet.
Yeah, that's essentially the way he is, isn't it? He's not angry. He's just disappointed, you know?
I loved him. I great.
I like him a lot, actually. I do like Hexacharies.
I also liked his pet.
Oh, yes. Very much so. I was surprised at that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was surprised at that one. I've got
So
to
before
say.
we get into all the other stuff, what else has everyone been up to? Andy, we haven't heard much from you. So what have you been up to recently since the last we recorded?
The last time we recorded one of these.
Last time we recorded one of these.
Oh, because I was going to say we did record
did.
something for Patreon on last Sunday, if I remember.
Yep. Yeah, we did Skaven Slayer last Sunday,
Yes.
which isn't out yet, but it will be end of the month. Yes, it'll be end of this month. That one comes out.
All right, very good. Yeah, this week's been like I did 4 podcasts in the space from that Sunday to this Sunday.
Whoa.
So there's been
Wow.
2 on Sunday.
So if you're doing
one on
Moonbase
Monday.
2 tonight, does that mean you're doing 5?
Technically no, because that would be 6 then. Because I did 2 on Sunday,
Right.
1 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, obviously 1 today, and another 1 today as well.
Jeez. That's some fortitude.
Had to catch up on Patreon stuff, so we had to do the comic show, and then we also had to do a Moonbase Woo Woo for the Patreon stuff.
Brilliant.
So it got real busy real quick,
Yeah.
and then each day, like Monday and Tuesday was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was editing those podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
God.
So it's been a podcast heavy editing week this week.
Yeah, clearly.
Quite intense. I got some new paints. I got my Volechoch black primer, because you know how I've told Mr. Adam this. I bought some from Element Games, and I've been waiting for that to be sent out for weeks now. Weeks and weeks and weeks. It's one of those things. So I thought, okay, fine. I need some like Volechoch metallic colored paints. So I got some of those from Amazon, and I thought, well, I may as well just get some black primer as well.
Yeah, why not?
So even though I've got black primer on the way to me at some point, I've got now just it can be a spare one for when I run out. So the metal color seems to be quite interesting because it already has agitators put into it.
Yeah, you
right.
said that.
Interesting.
I didn't know was the case.
Neither did I. If I had them by my chair, which I don't, I would have rattled them around for audio listening for that ASMR. I don't know, you joke, but I thought it was quite relaxing. I just shook them next to my ears and I was like, "Ooh, this is nice. This is nice." They're like the Vallejo metal colors are apparently meant to be some of the best. Because they're already in dripper bottles, so that's already a plus. And they're airbrushed, so you can just slap them on, and apparently they give a really good finish. So I bought some steel, and I bought some copper. Copper's going to be used for the Necrons, and steel is going to be used when I get around to on my Horus Heresy boxes. So I'm going to spray them silver, and then I saw a thing online where it said if you then get like the contrast paint that you want and then use that as a airbrush color over the top of them, it'll look quite nice as well. So I was like, all right, I might do that. And I've got Illumino Zaraz, but he's not here. He was sent out, so maybe he'll appear Monday.
God. It's another one.
The emissary.
It's another one, isn't it, eh?
Yeah, I was really hoping I'd get it Sunday. I said Saturday. I said to Gruff, "What do you think?" And he said Monday, and I went, "You're right. You're right."
What a mini! I mean, God Almighty.
He looks great. He looks great. I don't think he's my favorite of the new stuff that's coming. Or when I say coming, I even just mean in the new box.
Yeah, right.
And not even compared to some of the stuff we're going to be getting onto. But he looks really good. I'm looking forward to getting him.
I mean,
I've had to fight down the urge to get one just to paint.
Yeah, right. I mean, I want to know as well. I mean, I've ordered the book, the Psychic Awakening book, because I want to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just interested, you know.
When you mean for the lore side of things?
Yeah. I just want to know what's going to presage this coming of the Necrons, this eruption of the Necrons. I want to know like what Xerath is up to.
Yeah, it's really a shame that these things couldn't have came out sooner with the whole virus going on. You told me, or we've suspected that these were meant to come out like months ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
obviously it's been delayed.
I mean, War of the Spider was delayed 2 months, and Pariah's probably been delayed about a month because the schedule's been completely messed up. You know, you get the feeling that 9th edition 40k should have been announced a little while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just trying to get this stuff together to get stuff out in order to get back on track in some way.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me in the least. I mean, we had like rumblings of War of the Spider just ages ago, didn't we? It was,
Oh, yeah,
ages and ages and ages ago, and indeed the reveal of the Fabius miniature long, long, long before it was available.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I want to say that it was beginning of the year is when we first heard about War of the Spider.
Yeah, because people were like asking, weren't they? Like, what? I remember Kirioth like ruminating on what does it mean and who's going to be involved and whatnot. Because there are a surprising number of spidery entities in 40k that it could apply to.
Well, it wasn't the idea that you two thought of back then was the War of the Spider was going to be the beginning of Fulgrim's reintegration into 40k, like a new mini and everything. I'm pretty sure that's what you guys were hoping for.
I think that's probably what we were. That's what we've been hoping for since we started.
We've just kind of been waiting for Fulgrim to turn up.
But I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because you read Manflayer and it's like, oh yeah, it's absolutely coming. It's absolutely coming, because he's so prominent. I mean, and also, I mean, we've got a name for his demon world now.
Yeah,
we know what his demon world
cool.
is called. It's called Kallax, and it's we get a description of it. You get to see it. That is a new thing. That is a new thing. We have never, ever... There's even been like... Whenever the Emperor's children have been described in the background, it's always been left kind of vague. It's always been left like mythical. Oh, where did Fulgrim go? He sort of retreated into the depths of the Eye of Terror, and nobody knows what happened to him, So now we have absolute concrete descriptions of where he is, what he's doing, what the world he inhabits is like, yeah? And the last time that happened in the fiction... it presaged the coming of the Thousand Sons, and because the last time that happened, we got the name of Sorciarius, yeah?
Yep, that's right.
So I have no doubt, somewhere in 9th Ed, we're going to be getting the Emperor's Children Codex, and Fulgrim is going to turn up.
It would be weird if he doesn't.
At this point.
Beyond strange.
They just keep teasing forever.
Well, this is it. He's also, I mean, that's the other thing. He's been teased so much. It's unbelievable. Not only in Psychic Awakening, but way, way back when what were the books where Robert Gilman was resurrected? What were they called? Back at the beginning.
One was Plague Wars, right?
It's sort of before Plague War. It's the ones that led into 8th Ed. What are they called? I cannot for the life of me remember.
I want to say it was Cadia Falls, but that's not right.
I don't think it's Cadia Falls. It's sort of
Cadia
after.
Falls is one of the books.
Yeah.
Or Cadia Sands or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But those in those books, Fulgrim actually turns up. Not physically, but he talks to Gilliman after he's resurrected, and he kind of teases him and says, like, look at the galaxy that our fathers created. Are you happy with that? What do you think, eh? It's really cool. And beyond that, he's turned up loads. He's been referenced in the Psychic Awakening books, So it's like, come on, give us him. Give us Fulgrim. They've even done what people do believe to be like a test miniature for Fulgrim was Morathai.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's come on! We've had the Keeper of Secrets. We've got all the Slaanesh demons and whatnot. Give us some Chaos Space Marines. Give us Fulgrim. Give us Noise Marines. Give us the Phoenician Guard. The Terminator units. Give us all of that.
All right. Well, let me throw out a hypothetical question for the two of you. I'm going to put a gun to the idea of one of these two things, and when I pull the trigger, it will force them into the future, like further on down the line.
Okay.
So it's a delay gun. It will push the release date into the future. So what would you prefer to get sooner? Would you prefer the Emperor's Children, Fulgrim and Noise Marines and all those boys and lads, or would you prefer Dark Mechanicus with the Dark Imperial Guard heretics?
Dark Mechanicus.
Okay, this might be harder for George.
Yeah, I would. For my money, I would prefer the Emperor's Children to be first, but the Dark Mechanicum. I think the Dark Mechanicum and the Traitor Guard are probably are going to be first. I think they're...
Well, you know how we sort out this problem? We send the both of you into Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, and who leaves gets to have their thing come out sooner.
Okay. Weapon of
Gruff
choice.
has a child, so he can be Master Blaster.
Unfortunately, if we're adding Joseph into the mix, you don't stand a chance.
No, I'm sure. I've no doubt.
Sorry, George. It's
a done deal, yeah.
The snarling little baby bear has.
Well, as my affiliation with the Emperor's Children might have denoted, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So, you know. But God, yeah. I mean, I'm champing at the bit for it. I just want Fulgrim. Fulgrim's my favourite Primarch. You know, I just want the miniature, and I want to see what they do with them. I want the background. I want to see them like Cenobite them up a bit, you know, which is what they've been doing with the Slaneshi miniatures over the last decade or so. Come on, I just want to see them. Everybody does. I mean, have you seen, like, you know, on the Facebook page, whenever there's an announcement of a new 40k thing, you look down underneath at the comments, and they're all saying Emperor's Children, Emperor's Children, Emperor's Children, Emperor's Children. They would be foolish not to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And people desperetely want them.
They just want them, yeah.
I think it's one of those things where they kind of have to wait until the timing is right.
Yes.
And, well, everything that's happened as well, you know, it's been
of course
completely knocked off kilter.
Oh, don't get me wrong. The only reason, if I'm sounding strident, it's because I desperately want it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just like, it will, if that comes out, it will put all the other projects into the shade. It just will, because I love the Emperor's Children. I love them to bits. I love everything about them. And especially the way they've evolved in the background. The way they're portrayed in the fiction now. Like, the Noise Marines in Manflayer. Oh! Amazing portrayal. Amazing portrayal of those characters.
Yeah.
The opposite of what you'd expect. They're priestly. They're like they are not these manic sort of like drugged up lunatics. They are bizarrely quiescent in their own weird way, and almost priestly in the way they comport themselves. They remind me a lot of the Cenobites in the first two Hellraiser films.
By the way, the books we were trying to remember before was The Gathering Storm.
That's it, The Gathering Storm.
If you've ever wanted to know what being a ghost feels like, it would be the person that was shouting at us as we kept talking.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in those books, Fulgrim doesn't occur physically, but he occurs like psychically, mentally, taunting Guilliman, which is lots of fun. Of course, I mean, apparently, from what I understand, some of the books describe how the traitor Primarchs feel about Guilliman's return. Magnus isn't bothered because Magnus predicted it. You know, he saw it in the skeins of the future, so it's like, oh, whatever, it's just this skein that's happening. Okay, fine. Mortarion isn't best pleased, by all accounts. Fulgrim is absolutely enraptured. He's so happy because he's got a new playmate to taunt, and he is so happy about it.
I've always enjoyed how the different Primarchs took to Guilliman's return. The as you say, Fulgrim's all like joy, happy.
Well, the thing is, that's Fulgrim's reaction to everything now.
Oh yeah.
he hasn't got any other reaction. You know, it's like, yay, everything's great. It's one of the happiest people in 40k.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it?
Yeah. In his state,
have to enjoy.
Yeah, in his state of ultimate damnation, he has become one of the happiest creatures in the entire universe.
Well, you know, when the choice is outright misery, you're going to take a little bit of damnation for a laugh, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Mortarion would disagree with you.
Well, Morty. The thing about Morty, the way he's portrayed in the background, you've read Lords of Silence, haven't you, Adam?
Oh yes, yeah.
Have you read it, Andy?
Yeah, I heard it. It was really good.
You know, the portrayal of Morty in those books is just out of this world. He is gibbering insane. Like, flat out gibbering mad. He doesn't know where he is half the time. He doesn't realise that he's like sometimes he's like flung back to the Horus Heresy and he's still fighting those battles. He's this fevered, rambling, despairing creature. He's absolutely brilliant. I love the portrayal of him.
Yeah, he became one of my favourites very, very quickly.
Yeah.
The way that he's shown in Lords of Silence, because he's almost a sad figure, but you kind of feel that he doesn't care too much that he's quite sad.
No, he really doesn't. And I love the way you've got, like, the Death Guard trying to interpret his gibberings and his ravings as though they're prophecy, you know?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. He's become the epitome of everything Nurgle is about.
Mm-hmm.
The very epitome of it. And I just adore it. And that miniature is just out of this world. It's out of this world.
One of my ambitions in some point in my life is to get that miniature and combine it up with a Great Unclean one. And
Right.
just have, in the same way that I want to do Magnus with a
Lord of Change, yeah.
Lord of Change. I was trying to say Changer of Secrets. That was not the right name.
Yeah, that's
Lord of Change
that's
triple
the
head.
spawn of a very particular union, is that?
Yeah, and I think both of them would quite enjoy it.
Yeah, in their own peculiar ways. Yeah, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would.
You get that double head for the character Lord of Change. And then
Oh,
you get the
Kairos,
normal,
yeah.
Yeah, then you get the normal head. So I'd like to put all three heads onto Magnus the Red.
Interesting.
And just have this three-headed... Oh, I just think it would look great, but...
Well, Magnus is really
one day,
forgiving
one
in that
day.
regard because he's unstable, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
he's changing all the time. His physical form changes, like, whenever people blink in the background. It's impossible to focus on him because he's shifting into different aspects and different states all the time. So you can get away with converting Magnus quite a lot if you want to.
Wait, what was it? He kind of changes depending on the future and how it affects the past or something like that, isn't it?
It's lots of things. He's like he's so complex as a creature, as an entity, that he's
Yeah.
not singular. He's like lots of different fractals and possibilities of himself melded together, and he shifts and shimmers between them at any one moment. So at any one time he can be at war with himself because these fractals and possibilities don't necessarily get on.
That's a really fascinating concept, isn't it?
Right. And the Horus Heresy books at the moment are setting up the notion that one of those shards is lost. It isn't
Right.
in him. It was torn from him when he breached the wards in the dungeons beneath Terra,
Yeah.
and that's where it is.
Oh.
So there's a shard of Magnus still out there somewhere that isn't part of the whole, which is fascinating.
I was going to ask, what could you do with that? Then I realised what kind of question that was.
Yeah, I mean, what
anything
can...
really,
well,
isn't it?
anything, yeah. I mean, there's so much possibility there. So much possibility. I love that stuff. It's like, you know, the notion that there is there's a mortal version of Fulgrim out there, a clone, who is basically the loyalist version of Fulgrim. Thanks to Fabius Bile and his cloning experiments.
I'd forgotten about that.
It's brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant.
Oh, Fabius. I want him to start cloning the Emperor and just have tons of little Emperor children running around. Look what I've got. The Emperor's toe bones. Guess what I'm going to do.
Guess what I'm going to do with that.
Although, knowing Fabius, it would probably be clone the Emperor, shoot Emperor in the head. Oh, well, that's my weekend finished. On to some work.
Yeah, he's not a fan, is he?
No,
He's not a fan. Let's put it that way.
I'm almost surprised that he cloned Horus.
Yeah, I mean, he was of a different mindset back then, wasn't he? He was
that's
trying to save the legions back then, and he thought the best way to do it was by bringing back their focal points, you know.
Yeah.
And now, of course, he absolutely renounces that. He finds that to be absurd. He would never do that now
No.
because
He's such a great character.
He is. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. But yes, lots going on. Lots going on at the moment.
Shall we get into the previews then?
Shall we?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Andy, do you want to pick one at random?
Let's talk about the Silent King.
Oh, the Silent King. Bloody hell.
Finally, a proper full reveal, so we can see what he's completely like and all of his bits. I wouldn't say they're the best pictures ever, but they're pretty solid. At least we get a look at the Silent King properly this time
Yes.
instead of just his base and then him far, 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 far away.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it again, haven't they? They've gone. It's more or less what we predicted, Adam. You know, when we said they're going to make it like Catacross.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's essentially that,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, they haven't just gone and made it like Catacross. They've taken the idea of Catacross and turned it to the nth degree.
Absolutely.
I'd really pushed up because, I mean, right, so if you take the pictures, the spinning pictures to the one with no background, so you can get a better look at it.
Yeah.
You start at the bottom, and first of all, the first thing I'm going to say is that those connectors make my bottom squeal with terror.
Yeah, he's not bound to the base by much, is he?
No.
He's
No.
really not.
I'd say more so than his obelisks, because it looks like the big spikes underneath the plasma mancers. They look like they're going into the base, while the little hovering obelisks are just connected by the lightning. And usually it looks like 2 or 3 strands of the lightning, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a little scary. That is a little scary, I will admit. For such big miniatures as well. I mean, the stature of Zerak himself is not that grand. He's not massive. He's actually quite understated, isn't he?
He is.
Which I quite like. I do too. I like that. He's not as ornamental as, say, like a Chaos character would be. Or someone like that. He's just like an epitomized Necron, isn't he? He's like the epitome of what it is to be Necron.
Have any of the new Necrons that anyone's noticed got this symbol on the arm?
No.
I mean, is that like the symbol of the Zorakian dynasty, do you think?
It could be. I've tried to zoom in a couple of times to see if I can see anything in it. It kind of fits in with the stuff that's on the pillar that's just behind him.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that that's what it is. But I was just wondering, because it's... with the arm standing out, it looks like he's showing off the tattoo. So
Interesting.
But I wonder if that's something of worth, something of note.
I don't know.
He's got something on his thigh as well, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's highly detailed. He is a highly
I've just tried to
detailed
spin
guy.
the picture like it was 3D.
that doesn't work.
No, that ain't gonna work. No. But he's fascinating. I mean, what the miniature implies more than anything is absolutely fascinating. Like, you've got these separate obelisks that are separate miniatures that seem to be able to move around. So I'm assuming that he's going to be able to extend and influence.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe as they get further away from him, the influence diminishes, or something like that. Or you can sort of turtle them up with him and have them focus their power on him. Who knows, you know? My favourite part of the whole thing, is the captive Catan.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It looks so tormented, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It looks like it's just being pulled apart.
Right. And that's what's lending his deus its power, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And also you get the impression that what that does, it's a narrative piece as well, because it shows you this guy is the conqueror of gods. Yeah, that's what he is.
There's loads of stuff going on in here that gives it little narrative flavours. I kind of wish that you could zoom in a little bit more. I'll come to my favourite part last. So you've got the Catan getting torn apart.
Yeah, I love it.
And the fact that you've got the same style of plasma, so to speak, coming out the bottom and coming out the sides of the pillars, and the fact that they've painted that as the same colour as his glaive spikes, or whatever you want to call, which then are the same colour as the engines in the background, and it tells you exactly what it's doing. This thing is powering everything in this, in whatever it is. But also, the way... I'm just trying to find the right picture so I can describe it as best I can. The way that the piping moves around in the background and attaches to the pillar parts, but I want a better term. It gives you the idea that these pillars are something that's been hacked off something else and added to this. These things don't look like they were
interesting.
Built for this. This to me looks like something that's been placed there.
Oh, that's interesting. So it may have been like cannibalized into it somehow.
Yeah, because the style of those pillars is completely different to everything else. The texturing's different. You're not even talking about the colouring, the way it's been painted. The runic symbols on them. These don't look like there was something manufactured to go in this. This looks like this thing was built around them.
I mean, I wonder what it actually is, this throne. I mean, obviously it's what he's going to travel around the battlefield on, but what is its function? What's it called? What does it do exactly? Is it keeping him alive? Is that it? Because, he is the most ancient Necron.
I'd be surprised because I would have thought if they wanted to give that interpretation, he would be connected into the base, where it just looks like it's like you've said, it's like the Annihilation Command Barge kind of thing.
Yes, and if you notice, he's got his two cohorts. One of them is like it's a Necron. What are they called? The protectors of the Necron lords, the bodyguards, and the one on the other side is a Cryptek.
Yeah. What do you mean, a Lich Guard?
Yeah, he's kind of like a Lich Guard. Yeah. And the other one is a Cryptek. So he's going to have the powers. This miniature as a whole is going to hit like a dump truck and also have some incredible power. A bit like a Psyker, but not, yeah?
Yeah.
It's going to be I imagine the rules for this guy are going to be insane.
So the guy on the left, who I'm going to call Robert.
Okay.
He looks like
our left or Zerak's left?
Zerak's left. No, hang on. No. So our left. Yeah. I got myself all confused there.
So the Cryptek guy, the monocular one.
Yeah. He looks like he's sort of looking down at something that's really important. He's about to press the button that's going to like electrocute 1,000 Chaos Marines to death. He's really, really busy. The guy on the right, who I'm going to call Bobbert, looks like he is the most harangued, sad Necron that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Like, everything he does is wrong and he gets told off for it. He's so miserable.
He's the Seneschal, isn't he? He's like the bodyguard. He's the one who takes the bullets for Zerak. That's very clear.
He's so miserable.
I saw him more as being sleepy.
Yeah, maybe he's just woken up,
So even if I don't get this, I'm going to try and hunt down Bobbert, because I've fallen in love with Bobbert. He's my favourite Necron ever.
I do like the fact that it seems like the Necrons are really incorporating what it seems to be Blackstone into all of their equipment now.
So
because even in Lumino Zara's one of his little things, there's a little Blackstone going on.
So they are the anti-chaos, anti-warp army. Basically.
Yeah. Does this mean that Blackstone was where Blackstone was found for the Blackstone fortresses and stuff? Were probably pilfered from Necron tomb worlds or
I've
runes?
got a theory.
It's possible.
I've got a different theory. I think they're plundered from Khitan structures.
Yes. Now that
sense.
would make sense.
And the reason I think that is, and who didn't expect me to go down this route? I think that's because of the little spindle drones. So spindle drones share a slight design aesthetic with Necrons.
They do.
Right? It's just you remove the Egyptian iconography and everything from them and the Egyptian shapes. You've got a very base style and it does look a little bit Necron. But then it looks like you go right back to the beginnings of Necron and then take it a different direction, you get the spindle drones. So I think that the spindle drones were the protectors of Blackstone that the Khitan put in place.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. And that does make sense. I mean, they were also working on containing or destroying chaos as well. So that does make a lot of sense, especially given the Necron's history with the Khitan, with the old ones and whatnot.
So I think that where the Silent King has been is he's been to wherever the Khitan were building the Blackstone fortresses.
Interesting. Because that's going to be
that thing is a mini Blackstone fortress.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, it could. And I mean, that's going to be one of the big plot points, I imagine, in the new Necron Codex. Where has he been?
Yeah.
Because the Zerakian dynasty has been asleep all this time. All of their tomb worlds have been asleep, whereas the other Necron dynasties have been waking up slowly in bits and pieces. But now, apparently, the Zerakian dynasty is waking up all at once.
Yeah, and
Do
now
you
he's
think
coming back.
that would be left into the codex, hinted at the codex, or do you think it would be explored in a novel of sorts?
I don't know. I mean, it's always been a mystery in the background as to where Zerak has been. They're going to have
Yeah.
to do a little bit more now to make it work, to sort of give weight to his return. Where has he been? What has he been doing? But my guess is they might make it a little vague. They might just sort of like hint at where he's been and what he's been doing. And of course, why he's turned up now. The other big thing for me, the one I've been asking ever since it was mooted the Necrons were coming back, is what's going to be the relationship between Zerak and Imatek?
Yeah.
Because up until Zerak's return, Imatek was the preeminent Pharaon. He was the preeminent lord of the Necrons. And the Sautek dynasty that Imatek rules over was the biggest and most the most prominent. But that's not going to be the case anymore.
It would be interesting if the Silent King walks in, just tears the other guy's head off, eats it, and that's it.
Or if he just kills Imatek.
Yeah, just...
Well, given that Imatek really hasn't been mentioned at all in the midst of all of this, and I mean at all,
Yeah.
that may be it. He may just be being phased out.
Does Indomitus still have a miniature?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
an available one?
It's not great, but yes, he does.
It's resin.
He does
You
have a
to order
miniature.
it, don't you?
A fine cast or
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's all right. It's fine.
It's very old.
It's
Yeah,
can
well,
tell.
that's what I was thinking is when did it come out? Because I would guess that he's going to fade into the background now.
Imatek came out, I think, with the fourth Necron Codex.
Oh,
so
wow, okay, right.
A while back. It was a while back.
He hasn't had an updated one since then. Saying that, though, I mean, the actual... Until now, the actual Necron set's pretty old now, isn't it?
The Necron Warriors set, the one with the plastic tubes in it, is from Third Ed.
Can't be that old, is it?
Yeah. It came out just after the 3.5 Codex, the Chaos Space Marine 3.5 Codex, yeah. So a long time ago.
No way. What?
Yep. Long time ago.
I remember the lead ones came out. That was towards the end of second, though,
That was
wasn't
towards the end of Second Ed, yeah. They were released on White Dwarf, weren't they?
it? Yeah.
That's right.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. That was when the Scarabs worked in a very different way. They were much bigger, and they used to clamp onto vehicles and blow up.
That's right.
Very different. And also, that was at the time when you could very easily give yourself lead poisoning by just, like, pricking your finger on the pointy end of the Gorse blaster, yeah?
I remember.
They were great model designs, though. Very, very different from they are now.
Well, at the time, they were really different. There was not really much in 40k like them. And it had been a long time since a new race had been introduced into 40k. So they were something very interesting back then.
They were too new because I remember the codex was like 10 pages long or something stupid.
Yeah,
it was tiny.
there was very little you could do with them. Because really, in unit terms, there were three. There were literally just 3 units. There was... the Necron Warriors, the Immortals, the Scarabs, and everything else was a character or like a vehicle equivalent, yeah?
Yeah, because the Destroyer looked like a land speeder, didn't
did.
it? Not a land speeder, a skimmer
Yeah,
thing, whatever it was called.
It looked like the old-fashioned land speeder from millennia ago that was just like a flying seat.
Yep, that's terrible.
Yeah, I remember that.
Long time ago. But they were just testing the waters with them back then, to see how they'd go, and people liked them. People liked them a lot.
Yeah, I always remember the skimmer being something you could put into a sock and beat someone to death with.
Yeah, it was the
Wow.
original
So
one. The original one was ridiculous because it is just a block. It's a big angular block.
It was all lead as
All
well.
lead,
Again,
and you had to
wasn't
balance that on one of those like transparent stands. It's just mental.
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, right.
Such good times.
But yeah, he's amazing. Zerak is absolutely amazing, and what he represents for the background of 40k is just immense. It's just insane. This guy he's the conqueror of gods. He's ancient beyond belief. This guy is going to shake stuff up.
Yeah.
It's like the Emperor coming back, this is, for the Necrons. It is literally that,
What price point are we thinking?
He's big, isn't he? He's going to be bloody expensive, he is.
Are we thinking like Nagash prices, less than Nagash?
Maybe more, you know. Well, I think the best thing to do is maybe look at Catacross. How much is Catacross?
I think he's 60. Hang on.
That's not too bad, actually. That's not too bad. I would see him being that kind of price point.
I'd wonder if he'd be a bit more just because of the two obelisks by his side. Maybe they'd bump him up to 70.
My guess would be 70 to 80.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Yeah.
Which is expensive.
It is. It is. I mean,
but you think about the amount of time it'll take to put together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big mini, and it's one of those minis where unless you're a crazy person, you buy him once.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, if you look at this and you're like, oh, I want the lightning and nothing else, I'll buy it anyway.
Yeah, right.
Everything else can go in the bin. The bin box.
Although, that said, Andy, I was looking at it and thinking almost exactly that earlier. I was looking at
you crazy people.
I was looking at the Catan on the top and thinking, oh, I could turn that into like a tormented Cenobite demon prince of Slaanesh. Let's get that.
So what you're saying there, Andy, is that you agree with me that I should buy this just purely for Bobbert, and then put all the other parts in my bits box, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't need to be wary of my wife's wrath, so yeah, go for it.
No, but you don't have to be wary of my wife's wrath.
Nope.
Tell you what, me and George will go halfers on it. George can have the...
I'll have the Necron, you can have the rest. I don't mind.
I just want Bobbert, you can have the
Catan
Catan from the top.
Yeah,
and then we'll just we'll just send other parts out to people.
Oh god.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea as they go.
Well done, you've got the Silent King's right leg. Congratulations.
All right, fair enough.
Our competition. Oh no! What we'll do is I'll put it for like the t-shirts. Every t-shirt you get a Build-A-Figure part.
Oh god, that would take so long to complete.
Yeah, that's fun.
Right.
Yep.
Staying with Necrons, I'm going to just jump over to the video that came out alongside the Shard of the Void Dragon. Have you watched the video?
Yep.
Yes.
So it shows all of the different shards of the Catan gods.
Mm-hmm.
The Nightbringer, the
Deceiver, yeah.
Yeah, I'd call him Pumpkinhead.
If only.
Oh god.
Yeah. I mean,
flashbacks to a really terrible horror film.
Yeah. What? I mean, it's Lance Hendrickson's least finest moment. But,
and an even worse video game, I can tell you.
There was a video game based on Pumpkinhead.
Oh my god, yeah, and it's
yeah.
just the most amazingly awful thing you've ever seen in your life.
You know it's bad because it was full motion video as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sod recording this. I'm going to find that.
Oh god, Adam, it's terrible.
I love bad games. Saying that though, actually, I've been playing a video game this week.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. So Saints Row 2 was free on Xbox Gold this month. So I've been playing Saints Row 2 and reminded myself that this is actually my favourite version of this type of game.
Right.
It's better than anything Grand Theft Auto ever did. It's funny.
Oh, contention. I can see us getting mail about that.
Grand Theft Auto 3 is great. Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Vice City,
yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
San Andreas is brilliant. After that, they're unplayable and shite.
Oh, damn.
No, they are. They're just boring after that because it's just nothing but busy work. Saints Row 2 makes me laugh constantly. Yeah. I would say probably San Andreas is the best version of that game, but Saints Row 2 is my favourite version of that game.
I'm not even going to tell you what I've been playing because I will get onto it's so good.
It's System Shock, isn't it? You've been playing System Shock again.
It's not System Shock. No, it's Pathologic 2.
Are you nearly done with that?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
It depends. I mean, the thing is, it's such a good game. You can play it multiple times, and it's always going to be profoundly different. Mm-hmm. It's a stunner. It's all I'll say about it is it's broken, it's buggy, it's unfinished. It's one of the best games I've ever played.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's insane. It's insanely good. It's insanely good. But I can't recommend it. It's so weird, you know. A lot of people will play it and they'll just like, nope. It's too frustrating. It's too hard. I can't get over how good it is. I can't get over how brilliant. It's not like a video game. It's its own thing. It's unique. I can't really compare it to anything. It's a new experience. That's That's all I can really say. It's a new thing, and it's beautiful. It's utterly beautiful.
I hear that description, and it makes me think how I felt when I played Myst for the first time.
Ah, right. Again, another...
And I hated it.
Exactly. Exactly that. Another contentious one, which you either love or hate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, moving on.
Yes, Catan shards. That's what we're
yes, the
talking
Void
about.
Dragon.
For me, this was the highlight. This was the highlight of the reveals. That miniature has redefined the form for me. They've just done it again. You know, it's that quantum leap forward. You know, where it just changes the entire. The standard of quality just shoots up. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's one of those ones where, you know, I was joking before, but I really want this just to paint.
Yeah, definitely.
Never to do anything else with, just to spend like a month painting it.
And you know what I love? It would have been so easy to make it look too demonic, to make it look too redolent of like a chaos miniature or something like that, and it doesn't. It's its own thing.
We made the jokes a while back now about how somebody somewhere had been playing a lot of Dark Souls to get the AOS feel. Mm-hmm. You look at this. This is 40k Dark Souls.
It's so Dark Souls, isn't it? It's so Dark Souls. It is. It looks like a Dark Souls boss.
I mean, the symbol that's floating outside of its hollow head. I can't even begin to work that out.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. It kind of defeats assumptions of anatomy. Mm-hmm. You know, it's beautiful.
It defeats assumptions of how you make miniatures.
Yeah, right.
You know,
and the way it's, you know, the necrodermis, the synthetic body in which it's contained, the way it's breaking apart and seems to be wounded, and you can see the shard of the Catan coming from the inside. Friggin' brilliant. Absolutely.
I didn't take it as being wounded. I saw it more as almost like, you know how in shows how you see holograms have a slight shimmer to it.
Yeah.
I took them as shimmers because as the Silent King has them on his cloak as well.
Right. So it's almost like it's shimmering in and out of reality almost.
That's how I took it. Whether it is or not, I have no idea.
But of course, I mean, there's other stuff as well. I mean, I thought it was the Void Dragon when we got that little grainy picture of it, you know? Mm-hmm. The fact that it is a shard of the Void Dragon, again, upsets the background significantly because what does that mean? Is the Void Dragon still under Mars? Is it still asleep, or is it awake now?
What this means is, I think we're going to Mars. I think that, you know, the chances of anything going to Mars are 5 to 1, and still we're off.
Yeah,
oh man.
I mean,
I'm sorry, Total Recall just popped into my head.
For me, it was War of the Worlds in reverse.
Okay.
The chances of anything coming from Mars.
There we go. We've got an episode title. Get your ass to Mars.
Because, I mean, we know from like the Horus Heresy novels that the Void Dragon was asleep under Mars and was having a profound effect on the Adeptus Mechanicus. This is a shard of the Void Dragon. It's not the Void Dragon itself. Mm-hmm. So is this like a part of it that has escaped or has been taken or has erupted from beneath Mars? Who knows?
I think it all ties back into where the Silent King's been. I know I keep coming back to it, but I firmly believe that wherever he's been spending this time collecting things. I don't think this is the only new shard we're going to get. I think we're going to get all 3.
That'd be great.
Do you think a side plan is to reunite all the shards of the Void Dragon, or do you think it would be to keep them apart?
Well, the Necrons would want to keep them apart because they shattered them deliberately to keep them under control.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought, yeah.
I think, you're absolutely right. I think this is what he's doing is he's basically collecting the shards, and then it's going to be almost like a distribution of wealth. You know, different dynasties and different areas are going to get different shards in order to make the Necrons as powerful as they physically can be.
Right, interesting.
And my guess would be that the end game is going to Mars.
Right, very, very interesting.
Which is interesting because it takes the everything away from Terra and then moves it next door.
And it shines a rather interesting light on the Adeptus Mechanicus as well, doesn't it? It begs the question: are there going to be like internecine wars in the Adeptus Mechanicus now? Because I imagine there may be some of them who are still influenced by the Void Dragon, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, you're probably absolutely right.
Wouldn't that be interesting if you actually got like a civil war erupting? Maybe some of the Adeptus Mechanicus might think it's the Omnicia.
Yeah. Oh, God, can you imagine that? Right, there's a mental image for you. So you've got the Shard of the Void Dragon coming up over the mountains of Mars. I almost said the Mountains of Madness. The Mountains of Mars just floating in, and just thousands of low-level Admech guys dropping to their knees, thinking the Omniscience come to them. Oh,
very interesting. Yeah, there's potential here for like an entire new civil war in the Imperium. It seems to me.
I don't think it'll go into that area, but I think there's abilities there and things you can do with just this. I mean, having a Shard of the Void Dragon opens up tons of inter-narrative possibilities.
It does.
You have to... I mean, let's just shift away from Mars for a second, right, and just take what the miniature shows us. So the miniature has him with these big wings and that symbol and what looks to be like Elder Wraithbone as part of the head.
Part of the crown, the sort of horns,
which has got the Blackstone Fortress inside it. And then underneath it, there is a ton of Blackstone Fortress being ripped from the ground. I say Blackstone Fortress, I mean just Blackstone, sorry. There is a ton of narrative going on here, which is what kind of informed my idea about the Silent King and the stuff that's happening in that miniature. But there's also something which I can't zoom in clearly enough to get a good look at, because of the way that these pictures are set up. Because you try and zoom in, and the entire background of the site zooms in, but the picture stays the same kind of size, which is real fun. If you look, there's like symbols or something on the Blackstone itself.
Yes, there are little symbols on the Blackstone.
Which I can't get a full look at, but I think that they're the same kind of ones that are on the Silent King's arm.
Interesting.
Which brings up a ton of questions and ideas, and I mean, it's one of those things that's the choice has been made in order to get people's brains going, and so you can do things with your own armies.
It's a narrative piece, isn't it? They've actually made this miniature like a tiny little diorama.
And there's tons going on here. Also, that big Necron tentacle coming out of his back.
Yeah, love that, because they have the wings and the ponytail thing. They are the parts. They're the machinery that are keeping it under wraps, aren't they? They're what's containing the Catan shard.
Yeah,
which is that's so cool. It gives it like this slightly tormented look.
It does.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful miniature.
I mean, am I by myself when thinking it looks like he's got Wraithbone attached to the
No,
crown?
I think because of the way they painted it, it really does. But beyond that, the curvature of it looks slightly Eldari, doesn't it? You know?
I thought so. Yeah. It looks more Eldari than Necron to me.
But yeah, I mean, it's stunning. They really are going to have to redesign the other Catan shards to fit in with this.
Absolutely, those things look old now.
They're resin as well, if I remember
well,
right.
they're from the first Necron Codex. Those guys.
Yeah, I would not want to put the Nightbringer together in resin. No, thank you.
Although because of the simplicity of their designs, they're not as out of date as other miniatures of a similar age, you know?
True enough. Yeah.
I mean, the Nightbringer is just a cloak, pretty much. There's not much else to him. So it is slightly forgiving in that regard, and the Deceiver is just a humanoid frame.
True enough.
So it's a little bit more forgiving. If they were a bit more elaborate, they might look a little bit more out of date. But they do need to be redesigned in context with this, because that is just going to outshine them completely, isn't it?
I do remember seeing somebody done a Nagash out of the Nightbringer once.
Yes, I remember seeing something like that.
That was really cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at the Nightbringer now. Yep, do not want to put that together in resin ever. Nope.
But yeah, it's insane. And I do wonder, are we going to see other, like you said, Adam, are we going to see other Catan shards?
I think we will, yeah.
Because there are others named, you know. There are lots of others named. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they have aspects like the Void Dragon, like the Nightbringer, like the Deceiver, and they all have different, like gods. They have different capacities and different areas of reality that they preside over.
I've got a picture here. So I was looking at how the Deceiver fitted in. I'll have to put this picture into the as well.
Chat.
Yeah. Into the chat, and I'll stick it into the comments as well on the site. So right, so you got the Deceiver, you've got the Nightbringer. What's the one in the middle? I don't remember.
The one in the middle is the generic Catan from the it's not the Monolith, it's the other one, the bigger one.
Oh, right.
You can actually assemble it so it's the Catan Unleashed or it's the Catan Contained.
Right.
Yeah. So you can have it wandering around like that, in which instance it's a bit more difficult to control. Or you can have it bound in the machine.
Right. I don't think I've ever seen it outside of the...
it's just that
it's pretty neat, mate.
It's really cool.
It's small, though.
It's really cool, isn't it? But it's just the generic Catan, that one.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up, or shall we move on to the next?
Shall we move on?
Sure.
Right then. So we've got some Primaris Marine stuff.
Yeah, we've got some Primaris stuff. I mean, what these guys represent more than anything is how fast they're moving on with sort of supplanting the normal Marines. They obviously really want to get a Primaris equivalent out for almost everything.
And you know something? I really like the Tech Priests.
They're great. I mean, the two miniatures...
Tech Priests always look good, though, I would say.
The two miniatures that we've got look great. They really look really good. I mean, big Tech Priests, Big Tech Priests.
You got the one with the Iron Hands type head.
Yes, I love him.
Really cool, really cool. But the other one, who I've named "Are You Finished with That Sandwich?" he's become my favourite just because that grasping arm.
I'm gonna sell you on the other guy, the one with the Iron Hands head.
Yep.
Right. Do you remember Games Master?
Yeah. You think he should be voiced by Patrick Moore?
I'm just saying. Would it be a terrible thing?
Now the question is, can I get a Mega Drive controller small enough to fit into his hand rather than the gun?
You're gonna have to put like a little holographic kid in front of him. Games Master, how do I find the whistle on Super Mario Bros. 3?
Well,
praise the Emperor, child.
Well, boy, first you must get to your knees. Blam, blam, blam. Next question. I really like what they've done.
They're
with
very cool.
The Tech Priest.
Very cool.
I love the chest plate.
That's very good.
Oh,
yeah. Tons.
Yeah, the Adeptus Mechanicus chest plate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Another leather pouch, though, which seems even stranger on this guy than any other Primaris.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
Somewhere Sanction Extremis is screaming. I was about to call them Sanction Extremist.
Sanction Extremis. There's a lot of implications of that I don't even want to go into.
I thought you were going to say Excretus.
I thought
so
that's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah. That would be horrible of me. It's Sanction Extremis now. Jackson and Mark never stop screaming. Ever. And also we've got the other Primaris, which I can only describe as being, no, Adam, you don't want a Primaris motorbike gang.
The chaplain on the bike.
I don't want Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I want to do a completely mounted bike army.
Our sort of White Scars thing, maybe.
Yeah. Because I love this new bike.
It's very good. I mean, it's like a little tank, isn't it? It's very heavily armoured. I like the book.
Yeah,
it's going back to the library, so gotta keep it safe.
It's obviously a very precious tome as well.
Doesn't want to get in the 41st millennium. There is only late fees.
Can you imagine like the late fees in the 41st millennium, though, where you can travel around from planet to planet, and then you lose a book on one world that belongs to another one, or on a spaceship that then flies off, and you've got to go following it. There are light years involved here.
Mm-hmm. Are you not more concerned with the actual book return policy of waiting in line for decades and decades to return a book, and the fees to build and build?
Oh my god, yeah.
The book would then become a holy tome within the family to take back to Terra.
Servitor
When I was a
librarians.
boy, my father was given by his father, this tome. See Spot run.
Oh, you should have gone with fish and chips. There's an old British learning book for you.
my God.
The complete Puddle Lane.
Oh.
The Poddington Peas.
Jimbo in the Jet Set.
Oh God, this is going to go down like the children's cartoon route. We'd be here all day. There are so many.
I'm happy to leave it at Jimbo in the Jet Set because nobody remembers Jimbo in the Jet Set.
I do because it was my nickname for some reason, Jimbo at school.
What?
Yeah. Don't know why.
Yeah.
Don't know why. No idea.
Often you hear people's nicknames and you go, "Yep, that fits." But in this case, nope.
I've no idea. It doesn't make. It makes no sense to me at all. But there we are.
Fair news. You've
But
completely
yeah.
thrown me with that one.
But yeah, he's.
But yeah, anyway, Chaplin.
He's a chaplain on a bike, and he's really big. I mean, that's about it. You know, he's an exact like update of the existing chaplain on bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
They've
Just
just
30% bigger.
yeah, they've Primarised it. That's all they've done. I think what's more interesting, as I said, is sort of like the implication of these guys, which is very, very, very slowly, Primaris are becoming the standard Space Marines. Yeah.
Well, in the fiction, it's been 1,000 years now, hasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah. Then they are.
Since the Primaris first hit.
How many chaplains do we have now? Is this the fourth one?
In terms of Primaris chaplains, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not sure.
It's either 3 or 4, because you've got the one with the cloak. You've got the Judicator dude,
Yeah,
right?
who's an ace.
He is.
You've got this guy, and isn't there another one in the Indominus box set? Or am I mistaken there?
There might be another one knocking about. I can't quite remember off the top of my
I
head.
think
There's
another
that
one
much
there.
in the box set, it's hard to remember.
Oh, no, yeah, there is, because there's the one in the box set that doesn't have a helmet on.
Oh, yeah.
So he's all
Ah,
screaming.
right,
yeah.
This
That's
should
right.
be the fourth Primaris chaplain model,
God.
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, going heavy on
When-
the chaplains, eh?
When are we going to get Terminators?
I'm sure they'll be down the line. They will.
Or at least equivalents.
Yeah.
You mean.
No, I don't want equivalents. I want Terminators because
I don't think you're getting Terminators.
No, there'll be an equivalent.
it annoys me because the Terminators have got such a distinct look and silhouette. You know,
Yeah.
they've got the Terminator masks, which they don't look like anything else in fiction. And it would be such a horrible shame for them to lose that.
What I think they'll do, they'll be more akin to like the Centurions. You know, they'll be big,
yeah.
big things, and you won't have many in a unit. They may even be like individual, a bit like the Obliterators are in Chaos Space Marine armies.
Yeah.
But they will have similar. They'll have enough features for you to be able to recognize them as Terminators. I've no doubt. No doubt.
Definitely.
I think that's kind of the point. I just don't want to lose that distinct look.
Oh no, they are so iconic. I don't think you will. I don't think
Have
there's
you
much
noticed-
danger of that.
Have you noticed one of the interesting things about everything that's come out from Indomitus onwards? The Primaris have had this really militarized look since release, and that's starting to slip now. They're going back into the more ornate,
Yes,
slightly more high Gothic.
and I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all
absolutely.
for it,
I'm
'cause,
pleased by this.
You know, I mean, I know there are. It's horses for courses. There are people out there who prefer the cleaner look for Space Marines, and that's fine. I totally get that. I'm not of that ilk. I like the slightly more gothic, ornate ones that look like living John Blanche drawings.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all for that. So it seems to me they are really going down the AOS route with these things. They're making them look more like knights than anything.
Yeah.
And priests, you know, they've got this sort of monkish vibe going on, which means I imagine when they start releasing like the Dark Angel specific units, it's going to go mental. They're going to just look so ornate. But I'm all for that.
Me too.
I'm into that.
Yeah, I keep saying to myself, I don't need to go down this route. I've got enough armies.
Oh no, I mean, there's not much danger of me collecting a loyalist chapter or anything like that.
Depends on your definition on loyalist.
I suppose it does, yeah. Alpha Legion, Dark Angels.
Yeah. I mean, Alpha Legion have really got my interest, and yeah, the idea of painting a chapter up of a successor chapter to use the Deathwing Deathwing short story as the basis.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of ideas there, and I have to keep reminding myself, no, you've got enough to do.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? That is the issue.
I've got one more thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
Which is, do you just say no?
I said, oh.
All right.
Just a flat no.
And that is the General's Handbook.
Yeah, for AOS, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff coming out in that.
The thing that grabs my attention about this is the make your own hero
Yes.
Stuff.
That's great.
I cannot wait for. It really interests me.
It's
the idea of sit down with the book, you make and design a hero, and then you can go off and build the hero out of bits you've got left. And that's all for me. That is exactly what I love.
Me too. That is like tailor-made. That's tailor-made for me. I mean, the notion you can just cobble together your own style of character. I love that. I love that. And I cannot imagine they wouldn't do an equivalent in 40k at some point.
Oh, it'll be in next year's chapter approved.
Chapter approved, yeah. Of course. Of course it will. Very exciting. And I love the fact that they are... It's very hobby-based, isn't it? So they're just saying, look, you know, you can buy the miniatures or you can just throw together whatever you like. Here you go. Go and do it. Go and let your imagination go wild.
I think it's also worth saying, just because we mentioned chapter approved, there's been a lot of talk this sort of last week about the 10 points for painted armies stuff. I think that's kind of worth having a quick look at as well, because I don't see a problem with it, because it's all based within tournaments. I mean, do you guys know about this?
No, I haven't come across this one. What's this?
So in tournament games, so that's a generalized tournament.
Yeah.
If your army is fully painted, you get 10 victory points at the end of the game.
Oh right, okay.
That's now baked within the rule sets of tournament, not in match play, not in open play, just tournament rules, right?
Okay.
And a lot of people have kind of got it, a bee in the bonnet about it. And I understand what you're trying to say, because it takes a lot of time to paint up an army. That's fine.
But it's a tournament, isn't it? But
it's tournament, yeah. And it's one of those things, because of the way that tournaments are built and set up, this rule already existed as a house rule.
I was going to say,
tournaments.
Most tournaments did this anyway. A lot of tournaments wouldn't even let you play unless you had a fully painted army, would they?
Yeah. You have to have the bare minimum of the 3-colour paint job. Yeah. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Well, considering, as you said, that it was a rule anyway, and in fact, at least they're letting you play now. You know, at least there's that. Most tournaments won't even let you in unless you've got a painted army. So it's not really a change, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Not really.
I just thought it was a very strange one. And,
I took it as more of a bit of a jokey joke to try and help put down into words like a slight motivator to get you to paint your army.
Yeah, actually, that's a nice
rather
way
than
of
anything
looking at
else.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, the tournament scene is not mine. It's not one I really. I'm that interested in. I'll be honest. I'm not interested in the competitive element of it all. But insofar as it exists, it is the one that's most like heavily orchestrated. It has rules, and if it has rules, then well, that's it, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I just thought it was worth having a quick discussion about. Has anybody else got anything they want to bring up before we start closing down?
No, that's it. It's just it's just really exciting. There's a lot. I mean, there's tons of stuff to talk about with regards to the new 40k. There's loads of. I mean, the full rules are out now. You can just download them, but that's a podcast in itself. There's so much.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read through them yet.
There's lots of little details that make things very interesting.
I would always say to people, don't get too angry with the rules until your army codex comes out.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I remember when we were getting the leak rule sets and people getting furious. It's like we don't know the full context.
Exactly.
Don't get angry because it could be
that.
a contradicting thing for the Tau. Because
right.
before it was like, oh hey, you can't do Overwatch, and everyone starts
went
screaming.
nuts,
It's like,
and then
wait, and then
actually,
what was it? A few weeks later, they brought out the Tau one and said because the Tau have their own special rule, and everyone's like, oh. So yeah, I'd say don't overreact to seeing the rules,
wait,
even this big rule. Wait for your codex to come out, and there'll probably be new rules in there to update them and stuff.
Just wait and see. What I've seen thus far, I like. I've got to say from Ninth Ed, what I've seen thus far, I like. I think they've taken a lot of time to balance out what needed balancing out. It seems that a lot of units that were suffering before won't now, that there'll be a little bit more balance between them. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm very much looking forward to getting that book, I can tell you.
Not long wait.
No, not long now. Not long now.
Because we got the date and we got the price as well.
We do. Not sure if I'm getting the big boxed set. Not because of price wise. It's just that it's 2 armies I don't collect. It's It would be slightly pointless.
I, on the other hand, I'm not getting the big box set because it is impossible for me to afford that at the moment.
It is expensive. I mean, but I suppose
it's worth it. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much in it, but it's just 2 armies. It would be pointless for me. It's 2 armies I don't use. So, Well,
you could get the box set, then sell the Necrons to Andy.
Nah.
And then Andy's got tons of Necrons, and then you sell the Primaris Marines to I don't know, Taz, and you overcharge them both.
Jesus, wow.
That's yeah, that
you got a rule book and it didn't cost you anything.
God, the sort of socialist lefty in me is rising up in frothing bile at that.
Whilst the ginormous dick that it is me is just going money.
Profit. Exploitation.
Or we just do what we said earlier on. Every time you buy a T-shirt, you just send out a part of a Necron.
Yeah.
Build a complete Necron with 10 shirts.
But that said, I mean, I've no doubt there are going to be boxed sets like this coming out throughout Ninth Ed.
Yeah, my theory is
maybe not to this extent. I don't think
not as big. But I imagine when there are like new codices coming out and stuff like that, or new campaigns to move the narrative on, I think we're going to be seeing box sets, a bit like the ones we saw in Psychic Awakening,
I think a worry for that would be it will be a Xenos army or a Chaos Space Marine army, and then also new Space Marines.
Yeah.
Rather than filling out the other stuff.
A theory that what we'll probably see is a Imperial Guard versus Xenos one next.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And
that'd be good.
would guess that the Imperial Guard will be built one of 2 ways, either traitor or loyal.
Actually, there is...
Who would you stack them against?
Say again?
Who would you stack them against?
Groot.
Orc seems like the obvious, easiest one to do.
Probably the Orcs.
I mean,
Orcs or Groot.
Well, you could do Tyranids.
There is one thing I'm surprised you haven't brought up,
It won't
Adam.
be Tyranids, mate. Nobody's going to do anything with Tyranids.
Not for a while.
Now.
But there is one thing I'm surprised you haven't brought up, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a suggestion that a certain race might be out there.
Yeah. I was going to end with that, but now seems like a good enough time to do it. So, there was a little thing in the Pariah book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wondered if you'd heard this or not.
Yeah. The moment it got leaked onto the internet, I could smell it.
Yeah.
I hunted it down like a bloodhound.
I can well believe it.
So inside it's a little bit, and it's done up like a transmission with bits of static.
It's one of the echoes of the warp, isn't it? That you get at the end of every Psychic Awakening book.
Yeah. And in that, it says something along the lines of, it belongs to the squaw.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 ways of reading this. One is, it belongs to the squibbous neon beasties, because it's a Lovecraft reference. Or, they're going to start bringing back the small space dwarfs. And if they do that, I have no choice now. I will just jump into that both feet.
It wouldn't surprise me at this point.
They did it for Necromunda, and they sold really well in Necromunda.
Right. Wouldn't surprise me at all at this point.
I'm in two minds. Definitely in two minds because A, I want it to happen. I desperately want little biker squats to start making a reappearance. Even if they went down the Demigurg race idea and used that instead, I don't mind. That's fine by me. I'd be happy for that. But they've teased squats so many times now.
Yes.
I can't get excited about it because it happens. It's like the Fimir in AOS. I was going to say, like the Zotes, but then they did a Zote.
They did a Zote, yeah. He's very nice as well.
He is, and I desperately want that.
He's a very nice miniature, he is.
Yeah, I want to do it. I want to get it and then AOS it, which is going to be a lot more work than is necessary. It might actually not be workable at all, so I might not.
Can you use the Zote with the Tyranids as
the
style of
yes,
the
you
town?
can, yeah.
Yeah,
that's good.
That Zote comes with 40k rules as an ally.
And you can use him in any
good.
army, apparently.
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
army.
Which is why I firmly believe there is going to be a multi-Xenos codex happen at some point.
Well, there's
which is
enough
just
out
gotta-
there, isn't there? There's enough out there, and they can expand on it massively, so why not?
Yeah, you've already got the Amble and the Zote, so why not just build
Just go
more
nuts
of that?
with it. Go nuts
Yeah,
with it.
get
More
the
aliens,
rest of
please.
it. Basically, I just want to see the old space vampires from the Rogue Trader make a reappearance.
Oh, God. Space skeletons and undead and whatnot, yeah?
Yeah.
God
I love it.
almighty. Harlequin Land Raiders. Nobody wants to see that again.
Oh, yes, please.
Nobody wants to see that again.
So garish, so beautiful.
God.
What was the it was like the Blavonian blood beast or something like that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Lots of really abominable things came to be born back then. They really did.
When Rogue Trader did not have a collected idea of what it was trying to do.
Right. When you could literally have anything you wanted, you know?
When you used to be able to have Eldar Space Marines.
Eldar Space Marines,
What?
yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, half Eldar Space Marines.
The half Eldar were actually part of the Imperium, weren't they? They were actually
they were,
and they weren't the only ones. This was long before they went really hard on the anti-Xenos theology.
Yeah.
And you could have hybrid races of various different forms in humanity.
Yeah. Who remembers half orcs?
How does one get a half orc in the Warhammer 40k universe?
Poorly.
Right.
It's neither party enjoys themselves. I'll tell you that.
No,
much.
absolutely not. The only realistic way I could think of it is if it's the product of some experiment, one of Fabius Bile's experiments, maybe.
Oh, welcome to Fabius Bile's playground.
Back when Chaos cults and Gene Stealer cults could commingle.
Yeah, well, you'd have a Chaos cult that was actually a Gene Stealer
Yeah,
cult,
and
it was a cult to Khorne.
You'd have beast men marked by Khorne who had Gene Stealer mutations and stuff like that.
Do you remember the old Orc hybrids?
Yeah.
The Gene Stealer hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff.
From once upon a time, many moons ago. Yes, I remember them.
Oh, man. So good.
Well, freebooters you could take in any army, couldn't you, back then?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an entry for freebooters in the Death Guard army list and in the Thousand Sons army list from back then.
Yeah, oh my God, I had forgotten about the freebooters. There's something I'd like to see make a
In Thousand Sons armies, you could take Chimera and Dragons and Manticores.
Oh, that's neat.
Once upon a time. Once upon a time.
Kind of makes sense.
It does kind of make sense. It does make a little sense in Thousand Sons armies, actually. It does.
Yeah.
They are one of the crossover points between fantasy and science fiction. It does make sense. It's why it's why you can get Zarngor and Mutilath Vortex beasts in them now. In fact, I want to see more of that. I want to see more of the AOS stuff cross over in the Thousand Sons army list.
As I've said multiple times now, I really want to see Imperial Beastmen, the Loyalist, Heretic Guard and Beastmen armies.
Yeah,
I think that would
Well,
be
you
fantastic.
got hints of that in Blackstone.
We
You
have,
did, yeah.
and it's been
They were pretty good models.
It's been rumored like really heavily that they're coming in ninth, really heavily. Them and the Dark Mechanicus. I think that's what they're going to do with Chaos in this edition. I think it's going to slightly move away from what it has been traditionally, albeit temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm okay
Me
with this.
too.
Like focusing on like a heretic guard thing would be great.
well, it makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. Because the Heretic Guard are everywhere. They are part of the Chaos forces. In fact, they're more numerous than the Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So-
certainly.
And you can barely get them on the table.
Right,
It's,
yeah.
It's a massive disconnect between the idea and the reality.
Than the reality, exactly. I mean, technically, the way Chaos Armies, the way they operate in the background is you get waves and waves of your scrotty mortal followers, so your Heretic Guards, your mutants, your cultists, and then the Chaos Space Marines themselves are very rare, but very, 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 very elite.
Yeah, yeah.
Like beyond the standard of Primaris. These guys have been fighting for centuries and generations. They've got the blessings of chaos. They are incredibly, incredibly powerful. I wouldn't mind seeing a rearrangement of the entire notion of chaos so that becomes the standard, and that's what distinguishes them.
I would be behind that as an idea,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'd be up for that. I'd be totally up for that.
Do you think the worry would be with doing that is they might not think players would like the idea of having to have a chaos force that primarily consists of not chaos space
That
marines?
may be it. That may be it. But I mean, as long as the option is there so that you can have just a force of Chaos Space Marines, that's fine. I mean, it's possible to do both in one codex. It's just that I think the emphasis should shift a bit myself to distinguish
Same.
Chaos Space Marines significantly from their Imperial counterparts. I mean, to be fair, Chaos Space Marines have been struggling with the same old stat line for the last... Since Third Ed,
Yeah.
they've been struggling along
So 25 years almost. isn't
with
it?
the same damn stat line. All the fours, basically. All the fours, you know? And their leadership used to be 10, it's now 7, I think, or 8 or something like that. But they could do with massively distinguishing them now, I think. Because they are different. They've been in the Eye of Terror for God knows how long. Make them really, really distinct.
Because the Plague Marines are slightly edging, I suppose, in that
They
way,
are,
aren't
yeah.
they?
The Plague Marines are, because
they
have like their higher toughness and all of that kind of thing. But even just standard,
And they've got them all.
standard Chaos Space Marines should be different from standard Imperial Marines, but stat-wise they're not. And it's like, not sure about that.
Yeah. Right, shall we start closing up?
Yes, let us.
Yeah, can do.
So, we'll start with Andy. What would you like to pimp for the
Me.
world?
If you want, you can find me talking about Transformers and whatnot on the Moonbase 2 podcast. That's on YouTube, Facebook, Libsyn, and other places on the internet. You can find me there with my buddy Mr. Mikey.
Yeah.
Excellent. And George?
Same as usual, guys. You can find me knocking about on the Exaggerated Elegy channel. There's all sorts up there. Let's Plays, podcasts, reviews, all sorts of things. You can find my published fiction over at strangeplaygrounds.com. There's several short story collections that have been published out there. There will be another one very soon. It's just that the current situation has pushed all the publishing back. It's a real pain, quite frankly. Born in Blood Volume 2 will be out very soon. And you can also, if you want to have a chat, you can come and chat to me over at Enigmatic Elegy on Twitter.
Excellent stuff. You can find me on Twitter at Grufflock, or you can find this show on Twitter at Fluffenhammer. And at the moment, that's pretty much it, because I am working and have a small child. That's literally it.
Yes.
There's plenty of stuff going on the Fluffenhammer site, though. I mean, the Instagram roundup happens every week, and a lot of people have actually been mentioning how they see things that they wouldn't normally see through that collection. So I'm quite pleased by that. People have been liking that. Stuff that George has done is coming out on the site as well. Stuff that you've done for a while back that I forgot to put onto the site.
Oh, the book reviews and all of that
so
kind of
they're
thing.
coming out
Yeah?
weekly now on the site as
Excellent.
well.
I will be picking up the Horus Heresy very soon. I've got to do The First Heretic. I've got to do The First Heretic. The only reason I haven't done it is because it's such a big book. I want other people on with me.
Yeah,
You know, it's such a big book. I want to get other people involved on that one.
Absolutely. It's one I really want to do, but trying to get the time to
Yeah,
do
that's it. That's the
insane.
thing. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But the Horus Heresy series will be coming back because people like that one.
Yes, yeah, I've seen quite a lot of positivity surrounding it. It's good. I actually did put out a video of my own actually in the last week. It's one that I recorded ages ago. They never did anything with, and that is the History of Blood Bowl Part 1 with guest host Randi Sargson. Because I couldn't help myself. You want to know about Blood Bowl? I don't know when Part 2 will be out. It'll be a little while yet, I think. Just as a little look behind the curtain, I've got a lot of internal mouth surgery to go through over the next few months. So as a result, my speaking voice is not as good as it should be. So I'll probably not be doing any kind of videos for a little while. But we'll see what goes there. So
have you ever thought of like documenting your procedure and calling it In the Mouth of Madness?
Absolutely not, because I don't think anyone needs to know about me and my nerve pain. So Adam, how is it today? Excruciating, thank you for asking.
No, it should just be a scream.
It's if the
Andy,
dentist, if he comes up to you and says, "Did you ever know my favourite colour was blue?"
Do you read Sutter Kane? Out of interest, George, how would you feel if people just sidled up to each other and just said, "Do you read George's work?"
I'd be well up for that, especially if it had the effect that Sutter Kane stuff does. Every horror writer secretly wants that.
You want people to start screaming and
Well,
go mad.
for their work to... You know what? There's a part of every horror writer, I think, who would think, if they heard that their work had driven someone actually mad, part of them would be, "Oh, that's terrible," but there's also a really nasty little part of them that would be like, "Yes! Yes!"
My one-word review for Sutter Kane's books would be transformative.
That's what's on the back. That's the blurb, yeah?
Yep, yeah.
It just says transformative and then just sidles off the side of the cover. Couple of blood streaks, but got printed anyway.
Brilliance.
Yep.
I like the idea that you wrote transformative, became a monster, and there's blood all over the cover, and someone looked at it and went, "Yep, that'll do for the back cover. Brilliant."
What good design. Love it.
Right then, so with all that being said, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
May I present my cunning plan? Sometimes I'm nice, and sometimes I'm nasty. What, have you got a plan, my lord? Yes, I have, and it's so cunning you could brush your teeth with it.